Okay, let's get started. So welcome to EPIC's Career Series event. We're glad to have you here today. We're going to get started in just a moment. There we go. Okay. So I am Marguerite Huber. I'm EPIC's Campus and Communications Manager. I host these EPIC career events with young alumni and students who previously were EPIC fellows. So if you're not aware of EPIC and you're coming to join us for the first time today, we act as an interdisciplinary hub for energy and environmental research across the University of Chicago. We combine the insights of economists, policy analysts, and business experts with the technical expertise of engineers and scientists. And we have faculty who work together to bring robust and cross-cutting research to the forefront of the global energy debate. So today, we will have a 30-minute moderated Q&A led by myself, and then we will have about a 30-minute Q&A with the audience. So while Andrew and I are talking, and you're thinking of questions, jot those down and we'll get to those around the 12:30 hour. So some little logistical notes. If you're having any technical issues, you can use the Q&A little box to let me know if anything's going on. But otherwise, the chat has been disabled, so that's not available. When it comes to the Q&A part, I will have you guys raise your hands and I will unmute you. Please say your name and the program you're a part of, what year you're in, and then you can ask your question. And then I will mute you again once you are done. So that's our little logistical spiel, but let's get started. I'm going to have Andrew introduce himself, and then we will dive right into our questions. So Andrew, take it away.
All right, great. Thank you, Marguerite. So my name's Andrew Bray, principal at MXV Ventures, where I work with early stage innovation in clean tech and climate tech. So that includes working with both institutions, with consulting projects and some of their commercialization and tech to market strategy and projects, and startups as well. So helping them with their business development and working in the ecosystem. So like some of our projects are with NREL and the DOE, helping them come up with wind digitalization strategy. We work with the utility, helping them in their RD&D pipeline and managing that. And then we also, another one of our clients is Packetized Energy, is a flexible load startup. So helping them with their grant writing and strategy around private side finance as well. So that's the quick rundown, and I'm sure we will get into it a little bit more. So.
All right. So let's first talk about MXV Ventures. We'll talk about your current role, and then we'll go a little bit backwards to your time at Harris and before that. And then we'll move forward and we'll talk about the future. So present day. What does your typical day look like? I know everything is a little bit funky right now with COVID, but what does your typical day look like, and what are your main responsibilities?
Yeah, so there's kind of three big components to just what the day-to-day of what I do is. First of all is operations. So we're a smaller company, and so I have a lot of oversight and visibility into the day-to-day. So project management of like stand-ups within our company, checking in on projects across the company. Also includes checking in on the financial reports, trying to forecast where we'll be, what projects we have coming up, making sure we're staffed for that. It could be payroll issues or onboarding of new employee. And then there's also the different projects we're doing. So kind of once again, stand-ups and project management around that. A lot of it is scheduling meetings and following up and managing people. But with that work, I also get to do some writing and research and pulling in what knowledge and I gained from school and my whole background. And then the third component is around business development. So simply reaching out, taking calls with people. Sometimes they're specific to some topic or project that we're working on and see if we can work together more closely. Sometimes it's just someone else in the space that we're trying to get to know, and maybe it'll lead to something down the line. But trying to stay connected with the rest of the community to see where things go. So like in general, that's the day-to-day of what I'm actually doing.
Okay. So then organizational structure, can you talk a little bit more about that? How are teams set up? Who do you often work with? You mentioned to me that you work in a WeWork office. So how does that whole dynamic work?
Yeah, so well, I suppose every organization is a little different in how they're set up, but I do think we're pretty unique. We're quite a small team. There's 4 of us at the moment. When I started, it was 2 of us. So super small team, so we work very closely together, have touch points on all our projects together. We are a little bit unique as well in that we do have a parent company, but they're even only about 25 people. So we do get some support and coordinate with them a little bit. They're up in Sacramento. I'm in Oakland, by the way, California. And so as far as how that plays out, a lot of contact, a lot of close working together, throwing ideas around. It can get to be maybe a little overwhelming at times. There's enough with only having 3 people and all the projects we have, plenty to keep us busy. But yeah, and I work in a WeWork, been coming in a little bit more post-COVID, as we slowly move past COVID. And so a little bit of interaction there with actually other companies in the space, which is kind of nice. But otherwise, yeah, pretty small team, which I appreciate overall. I like the responsibility, I like the visibility. I've worked on a little bit larger companies before, and I feel like I get lost in that and don't quite understand what's all going on and get a little bit forgotten. So I really appreciate the smaller team aspect.
That was going to be my next question, was if you have, an opposite experience, which they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, they do. So certainly something to think about, and like think about how you work and what you're looking for. I mean, a bigger company can have more stability and more specialty as well. So you often get to specialize in something, whereas I'm working on stuff that touches on policy and technology and running the operations and client management, whereas a bigger company, you might have someone dedicated to client management or dedicated to one thing. So certainly some differences there.
Yeah, so you wear a lot of hats.
Exactly, yeah, which
so
I really like.
That's great. So what do you like best about working there? And then on the opposite end, what have you found to be the most challenging?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and I forget this sometimes, is that I'm working on things that I really like working on. So I deliberately chose to get into clean energy. It was a good match for my background and interest area. And I get to work on not only just clean energy, but a lot of aspects of clean energy. So I mean, clean energy includes a lot, but we're talking about, we work on water projects, recycling projects, different electric grid projects, and like different aspects of them as well. So public funding, project finance, VC, early stage venture funding. And I think that part is really cool. And to be able to offer some solid perspective to all that is a really great opportunity. And then, like I said as well, the small company, I get to have my hands on a lot of those things and have a fair amount of responsibility on them, which I think is really cool, and have a chance to deliver on that responsibility and perform, which is great. I guess the difficult part is that it can be stressful at times, especially as a new company. We're constantly thinking a few months out, what's coming up next, what's going to make sure we're continuing to do work, what are we working on. So there are difficulties with that, and can get stressful.
Looks like we're having some slight technology issues. So just hold on 1 second. There we go. You froze for just a moment. It's all right.
All right, sorry about that.
I think you were just getting started and talking about what the challenges were.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it can be stressful working with us in a smaller company. A lot going on, and you're always having to think a few months ahead of what's coming down the line and making sure what new business is coming. So there's that. And then being a consultant focused company, the whole client management aspect, managing entire projects, and working with these different peoples in a client focused way. So it's similar to like student projects in a lot of ways, but it really is good practice. But at the same time, it's another level of delivering for the clients and working with different people who are busy and kind of have their own schedules and have to work around, understand their needs and what they know and don't know. So that's certainly been a challenging aspect as well.
Okay. So then how did you end up in your current role? And can you explain kind of what your path was?
Yeah, so I like telling this story. So I started my undergrad in engineering, and from there, I actually went into finance. I went into trading futures in Chicago. So a lot of numbers, a lot of being detail oriented. But at that point, got disenthralled with finance, kind of realized it's not where I wanted to be. It wasn't very fulfilling. And so just took a step back at that point and asked myself where I did want to be. And so did research and reflection, tried to take a look at what my background was and where my skills were, and reach out to a lot of different people and just talked over coffee. And it's really the clean energy that honestly I found myself reading about more than anything. And so followed that. It was a great match for my background, and I found it really fascinating, the issues in this transition and what was at play. And so it was at that point I went back to school in public policy. It was something I didn't know as much about. I felt like it was a little bit of a hole for me. And also realized it was really important in this space where the energy industry is highly regulated, especially around the grid, and realized that would be an important part. So, and also just having a master's degree, giving me a leg up in any job applications and kind of checking that box. And so at that point, I knew I wanted to be on the private side as opposed to DC government. And so went back to, actually got an internship out in Oakland at Powerhouse Fund, worked doing diligence there, also helping to just manage their fund. Got to talk to a lot of great startups and a lot of great people. And so that's where I met John Meissner, who worked in the co-working space as well. He was doing a lot of freelance work for the DOE and NREL, and ended up working part-time with him through my last year of school, which was a great way to build that relationship and let him get to know me. And then as MXV Ventures was forming up in partnership with Momentum, who was a grant writing agency out of Sacramento, I kind of helped with some of that and then came on full-time at graduation. And so it was a great fit for that policy background and just general science experience, and then kind of brought some pretty good finance perspective to the team as well. So it's been an interesting journey.
How long between undergrad and graduate school did you have off? So how long were you in the finance sector?
About 5 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Trying to get a gauge of, like, you know, some people go right away, some people take some time and work on their career and decide, like you did, that you want to go a different route.
Yeah, definitely a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, I appreciated my route where I didn't know what I wanted to do coming out of undergrad. I didn't have quite that direction, and so that work experience allowed me to test try a few things, and also just gain some professional working experience, which I found to be useful in school even, and in a lot of like the projects and leadership opportunities at school. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it for sure.
Okay, let's talk a little bit then about your experience at Harris. We did already talk a little bit about, you know, what your path was here, so I'll skip one of those questions. But how did your time at Harris help you, and what did you learn while you were there?
Yeah, it was for me a really good opportunity to both dive into a lot of different topics, both in terms of the energy space. So for example, I was a research assistant for Professor Kim Wolski at Harris, and she's focused on human behavior and energy, which was a completely new topic to me, but was able to bring some data management experience to that project, learn some things taking a class as well, and really realize how important that is in the space where that perception is of energy is so important. And then do a few other projects within energy, and then also across campus take classes at Booth and the law school and environmental science, and so get this broad range of knowledge and take that into my job. So that getting to touch on a few different things, and then also different opportunities for leadership, both, you know, just class projects, but also working within HEA, the Harris Energy and Environment Association, and working with fellow students there gave me really good practice for going out into the real world and working within teams. So yeah, I really appreciated like that multidisciplinary aspect of the university at large.
Were you, well, you already talked about HIA, but were you also involved in anything else outside or inside of Harris that added to your skills or interest in energy?
Yeah, so I was president of HIA and did research for Professor Kimwolski. Also TA'd undergrad class, Big Problems in Energy. That was really cool to be able to do, work with the undergrads, and they had all kinds of different topics they were working on. There was a couple of classes in particular at Booth, even another energy class we got to write up a demand response report for, work with students at law school and Booth. And then also a early stage ventures class at Booth as well. And so put together materials for a startup and go through that process of formulating the idea for a company based off of technology and coming up with the materials for that, which was really great since our company is focused on early stage innovation. That was great kind of practice for me and to test drive that and see how I liked it. And then of course, I mean, epic events were great places. I'll give a shout out to meet people, hear great speakers, pulled in some great speakers on different topics, and really a rare opportunity to dive into the topics and ideas in a really deep way, where you're at a hard-hitting economics school who's willing to dive into the topics, as opposed to a lot of webinars out in the professional world can be, I think, a bit fluffy at times. So appreciated that as well. And then just meeting other students during the social times of those.
Thank you for that plug. Those events will be back at some point. We're still determining that, but yes, they're a cool opportunity when they're in person. Not as fun as a webinar, but
yeah, it's been tough, the webinar.
Yes, it has. Do you have any advice for courses to take, or anything that, like, do you have a favorite course that stands out to you from your time at Harris?
Yeah, the one that I really appreciated was the environmental economics course. At the time, it was taught by Professor Steve Sakala. I think he's moved on, but
he's at Tufts now.
He's at Tufts, yeah. But he just had a really good perspective, especially for teaching Harris students as a professional school and not PhD program. Keeping it high level enough to know what's really important and what's going to be important for us out in the real world of implementing policy. But the course gave a great breakdown in organizing the different opportunities to make change in policy, whether it be a command and control type policy or versus cap and trade versus carbon tax or dividend, and what the pros and cons were of all that. And to just understand that there's only so many mechanisms governments can have, and then just the why as far as the externalities around climate change and how to correct for that, how to not correct for that, gave a really good base understanding of the issue itself. And then the presentations they made us do was important in how to communicate all that, which has probably been a lot tougher out in the real world than I anticipated. But something I'm working on. So yeah, that was a really good class. Few others with Ryan Kellogg's Strategic Behavior of Firms, and then Kim Wolski's Human Behavior and Energy. think both really important in understanding the levers at play in all this, and just how difficult it can be in some of these entrenched industries. So as far as classes to take within Harris, those are my recommendations. As far as opportunities at school in general, I think most importantly, get out and talk to people. Talk to professionals in roles you would want to do or might want to do. They're usually a lot more willing to talk than you might think, even if they are busy. But beyond that, I mean, you really can make the opportunity what you want it. Like, you know, some people get really into the academic side and go on to pursue a PhD. I know one person who was running his own startup at the time and was really focused on that, and like hardly had time for any of the class homework or anything, but that's just what he wanted to do. And it's going really well for him. And so for me though, it was about that team building. So I really focused on HIA, organizing events around that, working with others on that, taking advantage of, you know, being that leadership aspect is something I'm hoping to carry forward from Harris. So, yeah.
Okay. You talked a little bit about your position with Powerhouse as an internship. So I just want to talk a little bit more about if you had any other internships during your time that you want to chat about. And if not, I want to talk a little bit about more what you did as a Bartlett Fellow and how that fellowship went.
I mean, no other internships. Recently, I had an internship as an undergrad at a medical device manufacturer, but that was a completely different lifetime ago. But yeah, my internship with Powerhouse was a great step into the world of venture capital funding, and a great opportunity that I wouldn't have had, you know, assuming I didn't go to school and didn't have that internship, would not have been able to finagle my way into the VC world at all. So this was a great opportunity to transition. And during the internship, you know, got to do a lot of analysis on startups and the markets they're looking at and talking with them, but also going to different events in the area and connecting with other companies that were coming through the co-working space, and just that worked in the co-working space as well. And so that's been really helpful as far as getting connected within where I wanted to be connected, which is clean tech in the Bay Area for me. And so obviously led to a job with John Meissner and MXV Ventures, getting connected with him. But yeah, I don't know what else as far as the Bartlett Fellowship it provided me that opportunity. So I don't know any other questions I can answer about that.
That's good. For those who are on the call, I'm going to put the URL to our Bartlett Fellowship page into the chat. So if you want to learn more about that program, you can check that out. Otherwise, let's move on to the future portion of this chat. How do you envision your career path from now? And what do you see as your dream job ultimately? Like, with nothing else involved and no constraints, like what would you want to be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a tough question. I think as far as my future direction, one thing I'm working on is gaining some specialty and expertise in certain areas. So I've been really gravitating towards private finance, and in particular, even project finance. And this gulf in the valley of death I find really fascinating as far as what can stop projects and what can stop technologies from being developed, and how can that be overcome. Where does government have to step in versus private funding? So if I can further that, I mean, that's just an area I'm really interested in. And then the question for me is, how do I become known for that? And that's a little bit tougher as far as someone people go to for that. And I don't know, I'd ask for any recommendations from everyone, but putting publications out there, whether that just be a blog or some papers, it's kind of something I have in mind. I think continuing to talk to people and just connecting to people in the space is a big thing. You know, I'm on and off Twitter. I don't know how helpful like Twitter is or not. I get a little disgruntled with it at times. And then long term, I guess I really appreciate the leadership aspects of my role, and so continuing that, and like maybe even owning a company someday, and in some new area, and delivering some specific value to the rest of the world, and kind of organizing a team and organizing everyone in the same direction towards a common goal. I think could be a really cool thing. It might also just be a leadership position in a large company. Could be great too. But yeah, a little bit more specialty and leadership overall, whatever that role looks like.
Awesome. So what advice do you have for students who are starting to think about their futures? You know, students who are graduating soon or will be graduating next year. What kind of advice do you have for them?
I mean, it's tough to know. I think first of all, just know that assuming you're grappling with what you want to do and where you want to end up. Not everyone does. A lot of people have a pretty good idea. Some people do. But know that a lot of people are in the same boat and like trying to figure it out and know what they're interested in. And part of that's just letting your passion go where it wants to go. But a really good tool for me has been to talk with people, try to reach out to people, make connections, find companies you're interested in, and then maybe find a common connector to get a conversation and just have a coffee chat. That can really go a long way to understanding what a role is really about, and what you would actually be doing. I mean, there's roles I've had which I thought were really cool and then got into them and weren't so great, which would have been really helpful to know ahead of time. So that reaching out to people, and yeah, just trying new things, and you'll kind of keep pushing yourself, and hopefully you'll end up where you want to be.
All right, thanks for that. With that, we will open up the floor. So if anyone has a question for Andrew, please raise your hand and then I will call on you, ask you to say your name and what program you're in, what year in school you are, and then you can go ahead and ask your question. But until I see hands raised, I will go back and ask a couple other questions that I had saved. And then once I see any questions pop up, we'll get to those. So for now, let's go back and talk a little bit about what current issues and trends in the clean tech industry and field that we should know about and be aware of. Basically, what's going on right now. If you could dive a little bit more into that, that'd be great.
Yeah, a lot of different trends. The big one that I'm really excited about is this ecosystem around carbon markets. So I would include like carbon accounting in that as well. I think a lot of corporates are struggling with this. A lot of markets themselves in California and Europe in particular, where there's just a lot of information to be had, a lot of information to share, and a lot to verify. So it includes GIS data, it includes different forms of verification at the site. It includes like even just how do you think about carbon abatement and what counts for a credit or what counts for different purposes of the corporation. So I think there's a lot of fascinating companies that we're going to start seeing who work in that space more and more. So that's a big one. And then I think one interesting one is flexible load management for the grid from, I mean, it could be residential and commercial, but it's interesting because it touches on a lot of things. In one way, it's simply an evolution of demand response, which has been around for a while. In another way, it's really this confluence where markets need to be updated to enable it. Technologies need to be in place. So we're talking about like smart refrigerators, smart HVAC, smart water coolers who can respond to the grid. And how do you get that into homes? So it also touches on human behavior and how humans relate to energy. And right now, there's a lot of different companies in the space, but we'll start to see them combining and some winners come out. But renewable fuels is another one. I'm really excited about hydrogen, which I can classify under that. But there's also some really good opportunities for like renewable natural gas. When you consider that we already have that full infrastructure set up, and even for like planes, clean fuels for planes, where they don't have to completely change the entire design to the plane. We can just inject these fuels into that. So those would be a few of the areas that we're looking at.
A lot of stuff going on in that field right now.
Yeah, there really is.
Let's see. So we got some Q&A questions. Hold on. Okay. All right. So first question is from Alex Katz. What techs are you bearish on? Hydrogen, specific long duration storage? I don't know if this is DAC, EOR, carbon to fuel, etc.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think one space I'm cautious about is building load management. So I wouldn't call it bearish quite outright, but as far as any startup claiming to revolutionize how large buildings manage their energy, I don't deny there's an opportunity there. I just don't think it's a moonshot venture play. I think there's going to be a lot of different supporting consulting companies supporting that space, and there already are. But as far as like if you were to invest in that or not, I would be cautious about it as a VC investment Let's see, other ones. I think batteries too, first of all, are only going to be enabled by market design and policy and regulation around them. But also they seem to be a winner takes all technology. So, and I think we already have that with, for example, lithium ion batteries are kind of the standard, and any other technology, if you talk about flow batteries or zinc, or I don't even know all the technologies out there, they're just going to find it really hard to come up against lithium ion, just because it's already used in so many places. And so the real opportunity is going to be with continuing to improve the lithium ion batteries, particularly for EVs and personal devices. So those would be two bare areas, so to say. Great question, though.
Okay, thank you, Alex. We have one more. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like working with federal agencies and federal labs? How are those careers compared to private industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a little bit of insight into the federal agencies, both the DOE and NREL. A lot of it comes from people who have worked in there, and we work with NREL. It's a little bit more stagnant of a speed. So one of the things is I often get frustrated with those projects, that they're not moving along faster than I would like. The jobs there, I would describe as a little bit more comfortable. They're not, you're well salaried. There's not as much of a incentive to come up with the next like big output or idea. There's certainly they're motivated, and they're really interested in these topics, which certainly drives things forward. But you're probably going to be more focused on one area. You're having to work within this larger bureaucracy, which is very real. We come across issues with technology that hinders projects because the lab has restrictions. And like when we send in contracts, they have to go through 3 different levels and get approved by legal. But there are some really good resources at them. You're working with a lot of smart people. There's like so many PhDs in that space, which is really, really cool. But very, very different worlds, I would say. I can't say, so that's DOE and NREL. I can't say as much about like FERC or NERC as far as what opportunity for change you can have. So I thought about working with FERC. I thought it'd be really cool to kind of redesign some of the markets and push how to value batteries better. But I really don't have any actual exposure to that to say a whole lot. But it's tough work, but it needs to be done.
Great question. If there are no other questions in the chat box, but if you do have any more, please either add them or raise your hand. I'll go through one more question here with Andrew, and then we might wrap up a little early. Let's see, what shall we talk about? Okay. Can you talk a little bit about some of the big projects that you're working on, or what you've wrapped up in the last few months?
Yeah, sure. So one of the big things we're working on is raising a venture capital fund ourselves. So far we've been doing mostly consulting work. That did lead to a consulting work where we got some equity as payment, which was kind of our first investment. And we really realized that we wanted to work with startups more, and it's often difficult to work with startups. They don't have a lot of money necessarily, but a fund would allow us to do that. So that's been a really great experience. We've been going through this process of creating the materials for that, understanding our background and expertise and what we're bringing, what makes us unique, um, and then taking that out and talking to potential investors and understanding what they're looking for and why they might be interested in investing in a VC fund. So really trying to emphasize that climate impact part of it all. And have run into some difficulties. So the fact that we don't have much fund experience has been a little bit of a roadblock. We're trying to overcome that by partnering with an existing VC fund and going out to raise together. But that's been a huge learning opportunity for myself, coming up with that, understanding the market, understanding who's out there and how to get that done. And so we're moving forward with that, and it's going to be certainly going to be a journey and a whole new challenge for myself that I haven't had before. So that's a big piece that we're working on right now.
I do have one quick question that popped up in the Q&A. What's the fund differentiator?
Yeah, so great question. The big thing that we're bringing is in line with our parent company's work on public funding. And so with the idea that clean energy takes a lot of public dollars to develop the technology, and our parent company has written a lot of grants and pulled down a lot of public funding dollars. We're hoping to bring that expertise and that advisement to the portfolio companies, where we can make an investment with them, and then during that support period, support them through the grant opportunities that are out there and how to write them, and how to pull down those public dollars to lengthen the runway for them, and develop their technology, get pilot projects out there, to be ready for full-on commercialization. So yeah, that's one of the big differentiators we're putting forward.
Okay. Last chance for questions. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay. We will wrap up early then and let you guys get back to, oh, someone has another one. Hold on, they're writing it out.
Oh.
So what they said, 1 moment. We'll give you a moment, Alex.
All right.
After this one, we will wrap up though, unless you guys get to lunch or to brunch on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
But it's I'll say too, I mean, it's a good question, the differentiator, because at the end of the day, a VC fund, they're very similar. You have deal flow coming in, and everyone claims to have great deal flow. And we certainly think we do as well. We're connected to a lot of the incubators, accelerators, universities in the space. And then it's finding a way to support those companies also through that network, often with other investors and other corporates. And then it's how to exit those companies. And in a certain way, in certain regards, there's only so many ways to do that. And so to try to differentiate yourself within that can be a tough tough thing to do.
Okay. We got our
All right.
question. Given the interest in public funding, how do you view, oh, I don't know how to say his name. Jigar Shah, the loan program due at DOE, stepping into the $40 loan program at DOE. Also, how have you seen the market for venture debt growing in other sectors apply or not apply to clean tech specifically? Sorry, do you want me to read that again?
No, I can see it
Oh,
actually.
all right,
So,
great.
yeah, no, that's great. So the first part is in regards to Jigar Shah moving into the DOE's loan program. I mean, I guess I'd say I'm ambivalent about it, quite frankly. Love Jigar Shah, he's a super smart guy. I wish I had more opportunities to listen to his podcasts. But like, he's gonna face the same red tape that's in the DOE that everyone else faces. And I was on a talk with him. We were in a webinar meeting together, and he kind of said that as much. You know, it's a tough position to be in. There's so many opportunities that I'm sure he's having to just run around and do what he can. But at the end of the day, only so much change one person can have, even within the government. And there's some real, I think, fundamental change that's needed. So, like, we've worked with some of these grants and loans, and DOE puts forward, and often there's a lot of restrictions around them as far as match funding that they need to go get, where maybe, you know, the DOE, I think, could be taking some more risks to fund these projects a little bit further down the line. But we'll see what he can do. And I don't know everyone else all in the administration at DOE, but I'm sure there's a lot of smart people, and I think we're getting the right people in there. And then as far as market for venture debt, this is a really big opportunity that we're looking for as far as like alternative types of financing other than equity within the early stage venture space. So one startup, Core Shell Technologies, I talked with, as part of their seed round, they were able to get some debt, basically working capital, along with that, which provided them just a little bit more money and cushion to go alongside the VC investment. So I think all of those opportunities are great. We should be thinking beyond equity for VC. You could also talk about, like, you know, how do you pair project finance with early stage equity? How do you pull in maybe more like revenue-based financing opportunities? And even at the late stage, this whole SPAC phenomenon, as being able to provide a lot more capital is overall a good thing. Hopefully it plays out as well as everyone hopes. But yeah, great question. And then it looks like get in touch with me, LinkedIn, whatever, send me a message, Andrew at mxv.ventures. Yeah, happy to talk. Do we
if
have
anyone, oh yeah, go ahead.
do we have internships? Nothing specific at the moment, but between ourselves and our parent company, I think that's always open and on the table.
Cool. I would say if you don't remember that email address, you can always email me and I can put you in connection with Andrew. So that's an option. Okay. Thank you everyone for such lively conversation today. We're going to end here. This is our last career series event of the quarter and of the academic year, so thank you for joining us. We will have the recorded version of this event up on our website in a few days, so take a look out for that. Otherwise, that's all. Thank you so much for joining us, and everyone have a lovely day. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Marguerite. Thank you for putting this on.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.